Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and I wanted to make a couple quick comments about something that I've kind of adopted as an issue that's very, very important to me. You've heard me talk incessantly and repetitively, hopefully in an informative way, in a thoughtful way, about what hip hop music is kind of doing to our kids. I want to make it very clear that I am a big fan of hip hop. I can really show you on my phone right now, my Spotify, where I have literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different rap songs. I don't just like old school, I like new school stuff. Actually, I like the new stuff better than the old because I actually get bored with old music sometimes. And so, so I am not a hater of hip hop. I'm actually a lover of hip hop, and in fact, it's because I love hip hop so much that I want to protect the genre, and not just protect the genre, but also protect black men, because we know, as everybody's been saying, Black Lives Matter. So when you talk about Black lives really mattering, you have to really think about what are the factors in this society that might lead to the end of young black lives, particularly these young brothers out here on the street. We know that most of these guys are not getting killed by guys who look like Darren Wilson. There is a broader epidemic here, particularly in Chicago where I live. I see just this week I saw a kid, a twin, really good student, good kid who got murdered trying to defend his brother. When his twin brother got robbed, the guy shot him. And so you have to ask yourself, number one, where did the gun come from? The guns come from these shops that are making money from the genocide occurring in black communities. And that's why Father Michael Flager, when he protested the gun shops, he can't get the politicians to help him because they're making money too, and they actually threatened to kill him because he's cutting off somebody's money supply. So the point here is that there are all these little factors who are out here trying to exploit the black male to profit from our demise. Almost like we are farm animals, with the way you engage in animal husbandry and you control various horses and pigs and dogs and chickens, and you make money from them because they're not conscious of their environment. They're just responding to things. They're reacting to things. They're not able to think proactively. They're not able to properly analyze their environment. The chicken that's sitting in the coop is just trying to eat the chicken feed. So if you put poison in the chicken feed, he's going to be poisoned. If you push the chickens in a certain direction, they're going to go in that direction because they're reacting to things. And what I encourage young brothers to do is to not be chickens. You have to be proactive. You have to be thoughtful, because if you're not thoughtful, there is somebody out there seeking to manipulate you. And we typically might say that, yeah, it's white supremacy. Yeah, the white man's out here to get you. We know that there is a structure. There's a racist structure run by the man, whatever that means, that is designed to profit from the black male. If you look at the prison industrial complex, there are billions of dollars being made every year from the exploitation of black men who are not wise enough to know how to navigate that system. The NCAA is another example of a case where billions of dollars are made every year from the exploitation of black men who are not able to understand and properly process how marketing works, how business structures work, etc. Hip hop music. Now let's get back to hip hop. That's another area where there are billions of dollars being made from the massive exploitation of black men. Do you see the theme here? Do you see the theme? When I talk about prisons, I talk about sports, you talk about hip hop, you can keep going down the list. The gun manufacturers, the drug dealers from other countries that are making billions of dollars dropping their drugs into the hood, as the CIA has looked the other way. I don't know if they're still doing that now, but I do know that, for example, in a lot of major cities, there are politicians who are making money by allowing the drug trade to occur as long as it's in a certain community. So there's an incubator of destruction that exists particularly in certain urban areas, and the incubator is supported and sustained by certain cultural mechanisms and variables that are designed to get black men to continue to think a certain way. One of the greatest weapons is what they do to your mind. If they get you to use your mind against yourself, then they can get you to kill yourself, and they can act like they never put their finger on the trigger. Music, hip hop culture is powerful. It's very pervasive. It affects almost every black kid that I know. Most black kids I know, they know who Lil Wayne is. They know who the biggest rappers are. They know who this idiot Young Thug is. And I call him an idiot because the dude just looks like a walking STD. He looks mentally ill. The guy, there's nothing redeeming about anything Young Thug brings to the table. And I'm not hating on him. That's just the truth. You know me, I guess got to call it like it is. Now, here's the thing with Bobby Shmurda. A couple things. Number one, I remember somebody said this to me a long time ago, right after the death of Tupac Shakur, and she said, "Are you really surprised that Tupac's dead? Because all Tupac ever did was rap about his death. All Tupac did was he allowed himself to get caught up in the craziness and that was going on around him. And next thing you know, we're going to his funeral at the age of 25. It's not to say anything bad about Tupac as a person. Actually, Tupac was a genius. But I feel that sometimes we can get so caught up in the hype, so caught up in the money. If you have a money over everything mentality, then you can end up putting yourself in situations that are ultimately that will ultimately rot your soul, that will destroy your future. And so when I looked at Tupac, that's what I saw. I saw a good kid, a smart kid who was drug into these crazy situations that all came from the fact that he thought that the hype was worth putting his future at risk. And you see this, but at the same time, when you're young, you don't know the difference. When you're 19, 20, 21, 22 years old, you sometimes can be caught up in a mindset that says success is everything. You should, go along with the crowd. If everybody's doing it, then it must be the right thing to do. But one thing that that my friend said when Pi got killed back in the day, and I agree with this. I thought about this for a long time. She said, "If all you do is rap about roses, eventually somebody's going to bring you some flowers." And so think about that. Now, let's translate that to Bobby Shmurda. 20 years later, 19-year-old kid, brilliant kid, has a lot of swag, a lot of charisma, has some skills in the booth. He's rapping about what's he doing in the video? Boom, 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 boom. I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna shoot another black man in the head, which is in direct contradiction to what we're trying to tell the rest of America, that Black Lives Matter. I'm not a thug. Black men should be respected. Black men are not scary thugs and all this other stuff. But yet you're letting these big corporations, most of them run by people who aren't black, you're letting them mass market the imagery of the black man as a barbaric thug who will shoot you and shoot your kids. If somebody's doing this all the time in a video and you don't understand those people and all they're talking about is killing other people and all this other stuff, when that person comes to you, are you going to let your guard down, or are you going to be afraid? Are you going to respond with violence to protect yourself? That is what we're up against. We're up against these record labels that will see the next Bobby Shmurda, and they will see that even though the message is very toxic, very destructive to himself and to his community, they will put money behind it and mass promote that. I knew what was going on the minute I saw Bobby's video the first time. I saw it had like 15 million views. I said, somebody is funding this. It's very difficult to get 15 million views on YouTube without somebody putting hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars into your marketing. That's why I've always said that these corporations should be sued for the mass promotion of genocide amongst young black men. If you can't promote the idea of minors smoking cigarettes, and you can't promote the idea of them drinking liquor, then you should not be able to promote mass murder amongst young black men, drug and alcohol consumption, all these other things that are promoted in the music. The other thing I wanted to say is this. Malcolm X said it best. Malcolm X said that the white man will sell you the liquor bottle and then lock you up for being drunk. And I thought about that when I saw what happened with Bobby Shmurda. Here, the white man, and when I say the white man, I'm talking about the Epic Records. They may not all be white, but they're aligned with white supremacy. They're aligned with this power structure. I don't know about you, but I don't know a whole lot of black people that have billion dollar corporations. Okay, so what did they do? They sold Bobby on this idea that hey dude, you're really on to something. Now this isn't something they want for their own kids. They don't want their own kids getting shot up. They don't want their own kids in the hood. They don't want their own kids thugging. They don't want their own kids risking prison time. But they'll let your child do it in a minute. Why? Because you may not love your child enough, or you may not love the children in your community enough to stop people that are seeking to exploit them or put them in harm's way. So rather than guiding Bobby to a more intelligent, more productive use of his talent, they simply enable it. They give him, a 19-year-old kid, hundreds of thousands of dollars to go out and rap about killing black people, rap about carrying weapons. So what happens? Just like Malcolm said, white man sells you the liquor bottle, then locks you up for being drunk. Well, they sold Bobby on the idea of rapping about killing other black men. Now he's facing a lot of prison time for drug and gun charges. In fact, when you're putting out that negative energy, presenting yourself as some sort of shooter, killer, gangster, and you're in the competitive space of New York hip hop, eventually some real thugs, some real killers are going to hunt you down, and you're going to have to carry a weapon in order to protect yourself. That is a toxic environment to even have to go into, even if you're not engaging in the buffoonery. And one of the other things that was really interesting was, I watched I watched that video that Bobby did where he was at Epic Records, and he was dancing like a coon on top of the tables and doing this whole pop 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 thing, and all these white folks sitting there just hands clasped, just smiling politely. They're sitting there really. I'm sure they're really just thinking this is the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. This is absolutely ridiculous. But you know what? We're gonna make a ton of money off this kid, and then when he gets murdered or he goes to prison, we'll dump him off and we'll find a new nigga next year. And that's what E40 always rapped about. He actually had a song called "They'll Find a New Nigga Next Year," and he was talking about hip hop and sports where they'll use the black men up and then toss them out to the side because you're so busy caught up thinking about this nonsense as the key to your economic and spiritual salvation. It's not going to make you the man that you want to be. A strong black man is an asset to his community, not a liability. He makes his money by boosting the success of his community, not by deteriorating that success. He is successful because he cares for the children in his community. He uplifts people as opposed to pushing them down. And I think that when you look at kind of what happens in hip hop, you can really see with Bobby Shmurda. I think he's a great prototype of this. You really see this guy, and his real name is not Bobby Shmurda. His real name is Ackquille Jean Pollard. That's what his mama named him. That's who he is. He was turned into this Bobby Shmurda cartoon character by society. He may have come up with the name, but when they promote the name in the persona, he embraces this persona. And then there's a point where he converts from being Ackquille Jean Pollard, who could have been anything, a doctor, lawyer, business owner, husband, father, community leader, into a cartoon character, into this thing that has to always be in character, always be as thugged out as possible, because your goal is to make $1 million standing in front of of an audience full of white people calling yourself a nigga. Think about how ridiculous that is. Think about that. Rappers going in front of 50,000 white people, 50,000 people, mostly white, and calling yourself a nigga. They're not going to do that themselves. They're not going to put their kids on stage and call themselves derogatory names. These young college kids that love hip hop and they love the thug life and fantasize about it. They're not going to try to be thugs. They don't want to go to the hood. They don't want to live the life of a black man. They don't want to be Michael Brown. They don't want to go through what Eric Garner went through. They're not going through any of that. They're not even going to march with you, some of them, when you're marching for Eric Garner. Some of them will, a lot of them won't. But they love it when you will volunteer your child up for this kind of corporate slavery and get him to degrade himself because you're so desperate to make a damn dollar that you will let these people suck the soul out of your body. And that's kind of what we're dealing with when we deal with people that are literally and I love Maria Lloyd used this term in an interview we did today, and I love it. She calls it cooning for cash, and I agree. We can't go cooning for cash. When you talk about Bobby Shmurda, I don't blame Bobby for a lot of this, because I think about when I was 19, there were a lot of things I just didn't understand about the world. There were a lot of things, and in fact, when I had my issue with Tyler the Creator, another rapper last year, he's 22, and he mentions in a video. I watched his videos, I listened to his music carefully because I wanted to try to understand this guy. He didn't have his father, and I was thinking, man, I would have loved to have been that guy's dad, even if it was only for an hour. Because unfortunately, when a kid is that young, it's easy for him to get sucked into what the world is doing and to think something's right because everybody's doing it. When in fact, what we lose when we don't have our fathers in our homes or in the lives of our children is we lose that moral compass, that person that helps that young person to understand, no, this is not who you are, son. You're supposed to be this. You are not the court jester. You are meant to be the king. And unfortunately, if we don't teach our children to be kings, then they will degrade themselves and make themselves into court jesters in order to coon for cash. So, Bobby Shmurda, I don't blame him. I do blame Epic Records. I think they know better. I think that if this kid gets murdered or he ends up in prison, the blood is on their hands. And as E40 said, when they find that new nigga next year, we need to go after these record labels and shut that crap down, because this is all ridiculous. And so I wish Bobby the best in this court case, but honestly, New York takes gun laws very, very seriously, and they have no problem destroying his future. And think about this too. Last point, this is a man who could have easily been somebody's husband one day. So that's one less husband in the black community. For black women, you look at, you can't find, you claim you can't find certain kinds of men. Well, that's what happens when the system sucks them up and takes them away. That's one less potential husband in the husband pool. If he has children, a lot of brothers make babies early. They know how to make babies. You don't need no instruction manual for that. When they make children, that's another child who will cry night after night after night because her daddy is gone. Her daddy's locked up in the doghouse, like Bobby Shmurda raps about in his song, where he says, "My daddy was in the doghouse." We can't let our daddies get put in the doghouse. Our daddies need to be at the head of the house. So that's all I want to say. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. Please take care. God bless. I'm gone. Peace.